Our final match for the night is upon us. VARREL versus Def. Yes, you get a little bit more time to get your drops, chat. Very exciting. Yeah, VARREL versus Def. It's going to be a very, very fun match here.
It is going to be. It's going to be tight as well, right? Like we were expecting a little bit of a VARREL roll, but they lost a map. We were also expecting it to actually kind of go more in NG UK's favor, but it didn't at all, right? Like, okay, they won control, but after that, it was all four-eyed freaks. And now it's like these two teams, these behemoths of today, of both losing control but coming together as one and fighting it out. I mean, when you both lose control, who's gonna win this one? It's gonna. I guess it's gonna be interesting, but also a little bit funny to see.
I know Flashpoint feels like control, but it's not control. And to be fair, Invincible won on Flashpoint.
Yeah. Okay. So that's like little something for him, right? Little bone. I guess you've thrown them. Well done, Apara. Here, catch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
no, you are right. Either way, both teams have lost match to their opponents, so theoretically this match could be fairly close. VARREL once again is a little bit of a behemoth in the Contenders scene, especially around APAC, so we'll see whether four-eyed freaks can come up to the table or whether VARREL will look as strong as sort of they should be on paper.
Should be on paper, exactly. Speaking of VARREL, it will be the Nico and the previous player of the match, none other than Cookie, leading the charge with KSG. Not Plankton this time like we saw last. They're not going to run Mint either, so we can't expect a huge brawl leading out here. And then, of course, Cloud and Mihawk will instead take the field. Mihawk, usually a DPS, but this time they must want the BAP or they want to run Ana. So it's going to be a little bit of a slower paced comp, whereas it would not surprise me if four-eyed freaks, they want to run the Lucio, want to run it down.
Yeah, I mean, with Rui's been loving this Junker Queen, so wouldn't be surprised. Proxies has been playing a lot of that Lucio, Berlin, swapping between a lot of different supports. Meanwhile, Speed 75, XP7, probably the same story of just a little bit of Genji, a little bit of Sojourn.
I just want to point out here that four-eyed freaks did really, really well against NG UK. None of their games or fights were cheap. And you could be like, hey, Pat, why not like the double sniper that they were running? You know, you had Speed 75 on Hanzo, XP7 on the Widow. You know, isn't that kind of cheap, the headshots? But you have to understand that in this meta where it is so brawly, if your DPS can't land those shots, then you will just get rolled. But Speed 75 and XP7, they were taking a chance. They had to take a big chance and a big risk, but man, did it pay off time and time again. So I wonder, maybe not on this next map that we're going into, but will they run that double sniper comp on Ilios? Maybe Ruins, but I can't really see it. Perhaps we'll see that later on Hybrid, but Ilios, we haven't seen it yet today, Apara, but we have seen it in the past.
I mean, Ilios is just such a fun map. Personally, one of my favorites. Not my all-time favorite, but definitely one of my favorites here. So I do think we'll be seeing quite a bit of rush running it down, trying to get onto point quickly as possible. But yeah, no, you're probably right. Ruins could bring out those double snipers if so desired.
Will it bring out the Roadhog? I wish it did, but it won't. It just, we all know it
miracles can happen. Miracles of 5 volts being used and not losing point have happened, so Roadhog could happen.
Blizzard World happened. Moira happened.
Blizzard World happened.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's definitely doubtful here. As VARREL versus four-eyed freaks, the semi-finals of the lower brackets. The winner goes to the losers grand finals, but the winner of that one will eventually ascend to DAF. And it's all down to this. VARREL, they're running KSG on the Diva. I haven't seen any Diva today, but we do see it more on Lighthouse and Well amongst anything else. It's really good to help dive, especially with Cookie. And on the other side, it makes sense that you run the Diva there too.
So it's just going to be a quick push out, trying to take early cap of first point. Rui obviously going through the building. KSG wanting to see where people are a little bit better, but high ground for Four-Eyed Freaks could come in favor.
That's a huge pick.
especially with
He was
Mihawk.
asleep as well, Aparo. That was brutal.
Oh, Mihawk completely removed, not allowed to play the game right now, and now Nico getting chased down. Four-Eyed Freaks, what an opening fight.
That's exactly how they needed to play that there. That sleep was brutal because they could not move from the doorway. They couldn't get pulled or anything like that. Now, there are a couple of compositional differences between these two teams. Of course, you have Ash from XP7, whereas Nico is on the Tracer instead. So they will want to dive in against Four-Eyed Freaks, and it works. A charm that time.
Mihawk got the revenge they were hoping against Speed 75. That is definitely going to allow VARREL to start getting a little bit more aggressive, take that point, get a bit of point presence, but with Nico down, XP7 has to get pushed off the map just to allow that DPS lineup to even up a bit. Cookie takes down Berlin with a beautiful shot, and now it's just Rui on point, stalling it out, gonna get D-Mech with that focusing beam, and VARREL get point.
That was really well played by VARREL, just slowly picking them off. Diving as one coherent unit as well. I mean, Cookie already has the duplicate as well as KSG with the self-destruct as well. And the way that VARREL are playing it, they do have a little bit more damage in the long run because, you know, you have Cloud. They're on Alari, whereas you have proxies instead on the Brigitte. Brigitte's better when you do get Dove, of course, but you can't just give this damage that KSG is getting, and that's thanks to the Alari poke as well.
Yeah, I mean, it also just feels like XP7 was a bit caught out alone. You don't want to be alone when a D.Va's flying at you.
No, and you can't get saved as easily with these comps. You know, you don't have an Immortality or a Zuzu, and here comes a bomb. Doesn't catch anybody out. Buys some space, I suppose.
Yeah, look at where Nico managed to get thanks to that bomb right into where Four-Eyed Freaks are trying to approach now. And Nano onto Speed 75, focusing beam, not quite landing onto anything. Captive stun eaten up by Rui, but KSG still taking names. Rui and Speed find one each, but it is ultimately VARREL's fight.
Is it Four-Eyed Freaks' last fight, this one? I think it's their last good push possible for Four Eyes. I mean, they have a lot of ultimates to expend here. It's about how you're willing to do it. Of course, you expended the Nano in the last fight, but nothing came of that. So you do, of course, have a rally, which is so good in the brawl, but with this amount of poke.
Cookie taking down two, now duplicating into the D.Va. That final fight didn't even look like a fight. That point is now ticking away. I don't think there's going to be another fight at this point. It's a tri-stall for overtime. Duplicate even from Speed just to get overtime. Literally all just to get overtime. XP7 swapping out to the Tracer, but it's just desperation now. Try to get a touch, try to make something happen, and Rally can't even touch.
If anyone had accidental, like, falling off the point on their bingo card, they can mark that one off. That was unfortunate from Speed 75. I'm sure he'd love to be on the actual ground instead of swimming in the sea there, as they were... Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I don't want to get shiny too hard here, but that was a big bomb in the black area as we're waiting for that slow-mo. But that was unfortunate because Speed 75 was their final attempt, right, of touching. They had a Tracer that was kind of in the midst of XP7 ready to go too, but because they didn't have their last touch of Speed 75, it was kind of all over. So now we're over to Well, and it's a ball from KSG. Okay, we saw a little bit of this.
Whenever there's a chance for KSG to get a Wrecking Ball, KSG will take that chance. And I mean, it makes sense. KSG thrives on this Wrecking Ball, puts in a lot of work. But that XP7 Cassidy pick could be scary for KSG.
This is where it's kind of hard for Azar to protect their team because you're going to have VARREL come from pretty much every angle on the map, right? Oh, there you go. That's one way to shut down Nico.
Yeah, endurance really good from that magnetic grenade, and Nico gone should give Four-Eyed Freaks a little bit more room to breathe, you know, less damage coming all around you. KSG falling so low, Cloud managing to save them, and once again that pylon, that healing pylon is so much support. Speed getting rolled right on through, pile driver not moving on continuing through his bubble. KSG just causing havoc and not allowing 4-Eyed Freaks to gather up, but Berlin taking down Cookie. Finally, 4-Eyed Freaks will get this point at this rate.
Yeah, 4-Eyed Freaks, they played that really well. They just got to protect XP7 with that magnetic grenade. Hindrance is so big against somebody like KSG. Cloud already with what? That is such a fast capture stun.
And it actually works out. Proxies and Rui full. Cookie and Cloud putting in some good work. The duo really taking names. KSG now taking down Berlin, and that point is right on back to VARREL.
That was quick turnaround too. Only 18%. To 4-Eyed Freaks. VARREL as well with a couple of ultimates to defend this point. KSG with the mines, and look, even if it doesn't get a kill, it buys so much space and also shuts down big parts of the map. Is this just on a map?
Man, really pushing in, but everyone from 4-Eyed Freaks said go away. KSG taking them down, pumping down a lot of damage, and now Pulse Bomb from Nico doesn't quite find anything. Accretion not connecting onto Nico either, so Nico still alive at this point, taking up for VARREL. 4-Eyed Freaks need to find something.
Need to find something because yes, this fight is kind of going to 4-Eyed Freaks' pocket, but realistically, the point is still VARREL, so they're winning at the moment.
Captive Sun and Blade both committed from 4-Eyed Freaks, so they will get this point back. But as you said, that point is ticking up 59%, now moving to 60, and finally got it back.
KSG one last rat race to touch the point for an extra 2%. They will be switching over to the Monkey very quickly. I mean, that would shut down speed 75. Their dives will be a lot harder because they've got to be careful of the Tesla cannon. And Proxy though, Proxies, they do have the Amp Matrix, which will allow XP7 to land some huge shots, I'm sure.
Winston now trying to just find their target to dive, and looks like they really want to put a lot of pain onto XP7, falling quite low, but Proxy managing to get immortalities to save both them and XP7. Nico's bomb, Cloud and Cookie though, oh, cleaning house, back to spawn you go. 4-Eyed Freaks, the focusing beam to finish XP7. That's Echo Masterclass right there.
I was kind of questioning last fight in Lighthouse when it was about 70%, but these two teams here, this will be a slow engagement, especially from VARREL. They have absolutely no ultimates to defend, but I mean, I would say that's a big deal, but so far it doesn't really matter what ultimates, especially if you can get a big kill or Nico into the back line like that. I mean, what?
KSG taking down Berlin. 4-Eyed Freaks feeling a little bit stressed now at 88%. You do have the Flux, you've got the Amp Matrix. Amp Matrix actually coming out now from Proxies as well. XP7 trying to clip some birds out of the sky, but that bubble from KSG scaring XP7 away. Manages to survive for now. Point from Rui. Flux coming out. Who's it going to pick up? Manages to go for the Monkey. And as well, Mihawk, Kiriko gone. That should be enough for 4-Eyed Freaks to get back this point and put us at 99% for VARREL.
4-Eyed Freaks did well there because they didn't expend all their ultimates. In fact, they only really had to use Amp Matrix towards the very, very beginning and then Flux to finish it off. That gives them a chance against VARREL, who have now built up those ultimates they so desperately, I'm sure, wanted in that other fight. But they so desperately want Nico back. Apari, you cannot lose Nico right now. 80% remaining.
Should be in just enough time for Nico to come back, but you are certainly right. This is scary times now for VARREL as Speed's got that blade online.
Yeah, and Cloud though, with the capture stun, this could be big, but I think this really speed 75. Their blades have been absolutely enormous.
Captive Sun managing to not quite find anyone just yet, hoping to get a target taken out, and it's Cloud the first to fall. That is not good news for VARREL right now. 4-Eyed Freaks looking good to be able to take the second point of Ilios and move us to Ruins. They just need to finish off this last few players of VARREL. Cookie gone, followed down by Nico falling so low, manages to recall Mihawk now getting chased out by every single player, manages to swift step away, and it is just stall, but not long enough to get it into their favor.
No, VARREL did well to try and stall that for as long as possible, but ultimately, I'd say it's pretty even on both sides of the ultimates. Like, yeah, VARREL didn't really have too many they went in on, but at the same time, they were able to build it very, very fast. And XP7 just time and time again with those magnetic grenades, with the shutdown on KSG and of course on Nico towards that final fight there, it didn't allow for VARREL to be probably as slow and well thought out as they wanted to. They got very, very flustered, I would say, as Four-Eyed Freaks, we're on to Ruins, and Apara, we were kind of thinking this, right? We were kind of thinking, yeah, they're probably going to go the Widow here, and instead of the double sniper, it is speed 75 onto the Tracer.
Nico's choosing that Bastion pick. In fact, Four-Eyed Freak's running something completely different. Got Doomfist. It's just a chaotic Wii comp there in the current meta of everything. We'll see if Rui can make this Doomfist work. Maybe take out a few lone targets.
I know I'm supposed to know all the stats, but it doesn't feel like Doomfist has won too many fights whenever teams pick him. But at the moment, Rui doing a fantastic job shutting out Cloud.
Cloud going down early is devastating news for VARREL. They want to be able to try and find their support pick of themselves, but it's actually Cookie taken down. Now KSG bullied, and that's going to be Four-Eyed Freaks taking early cap.
XP7 is so consistent on that Widow, so consistent on the cast. Just all hit scans are being so good, and Mihawk is... usually you look to Mihawk when you see VARREL for the sniper, but they do not have an answer for it. In fact, Cookie has gone instead over to the Sombra, which we don't see very often. I guess to shut down Doomfist makes it a little bit easier, but you have nothing really to get on top of the Widow, shut them down instantly here. It's going to have to be a hack to at least see where they are, but very healed up, very safe at the moment as they're looking for their next engagement, VARREL, but Four-Eyed Freaks very happy with where they are.
All of this just time in the bank for Four-Eyed Freaks at the moment. Speed 75 tried to get in on Cloud, and Cloud is falling low again. Meteor Strike now onto KSG, not quite finding a pick, but that Captive Sun is putting a lot of pressure on VARREL again. VARREL don't quite seem to know what to do against this comp. It's completely against the meta, and they're panicking. They don't know what comp is anymore.
What are we doing here? Is this Ruins? I think so. They've actually, KSG, there we go. This is what they wanted. Hey, some picks going their way as Four-Eyed Freaks. They're going to fall there, but not without gaining a lot of ultimates for their next engagement. I was about to say for the next engagement, but I guess XP7 just wants to pop theirs now. It's very, very early.
I guess it gives them information of how can we approach, you know? Are they playing it far back, or are they a little bit more up close? And it allowed XP7 to know to swap to the cast.
It also lets you know if Sombra's in your backline as well, I suppose. And B75, there you go, back on that Genji that we all know, we all love, and immediately comes up dividends, Mihawk down.
KSG follows up, taking down XPG though, and that Captive Sun puts a lot of pain onto Proxy. Speed hoping to keep this fight alive, but it's pushed back. Speed wanting to take this fight, but Cloud dodging shots, and VARREL still alive.
Speed 75's turn to do the little dance on point, not working out. And now it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough for Four-Eyed Freaks to take this fight. They have 0 ultimates, whereas VARREL, they're holding some very significant ones, like the EMP and, of course, the Kerosene. This is one where it's like you have time to time bank to almost throw yourself at them hard enough to force VARREL to use a lot of ults for your next engagement here.
Attack from Cookie. EMP as well. Into the Terror Surge. That is just complete tearing apart of the Four-Eyed Freaks there. All of them back to spawn in a team kill.
You know what I forgot to say, Apara? I forgot to say that Four-Eyed Freaks, they have to survive long enough to build set ults.
Yeah.
I neglected to remind them of that one, as it will be, yeah, definitely final fight. What am I trying to say here? 85% remaining. VARREL still with at least one ultimate in their back pocket, and it will be down to Nico.
Roxy's gone early. XP7 following Berlin now fully down as well, and KSG's Orisa working a sharp speed, sneakily going onto point, gets hacked out, completely torn apart, and that is going to be VARREL taking our first map.
That was a lot closer than I think otherwise to be projected. VARREL were on the back foot most of that time. I mean, they lost a map as well, but you know, if we have a look at it, both teams struggle to win control. So, you know, it's fair enough that both teams, it was just a struggle, whether they were defending or attacking. But it really felt like, especially towards Ruins, the end of Ruins, excuse me, VARREL really woke up in terms of how to shut them down really quickly, what ults to use, what ults are coming up for them. In fact, it felt like, in fact, it was, Four Eyed Freaks had 2 fights there with 0 ultimates built. I mean, one of the fights hardly counted with an EMP completely shutting everything down. And then, of course, that final push that Four Eyed Freaks had as an opportunity, you just had Sombra and Tracer and Orisa playing almost like a dive tank in your backline. Like, hi, I'm Orisa, I'm supposed to be here. Yes, And because of that, just shut down the Cassidy, shut down all the healers. And it was really Speed 75, last one to touch, but obviously they weren't going to last very long.
Yeah, those last minute touches when it's just you doesn't quite work out in the end. And VARREL, whilst they did struggle, definitely are looking good. Could they continue their win streak? We'll find out after a short wee break. VARREL are up 1-0 at the moment, and Four Eyed Freaks, they certainly didn't look down. They just couldn't quite make it work. So, Pep, what do you think Four Eyed Freaks need to do to be able to get the map win against VARREL?
I know we've seen a lot of Midtown, but it really was the turning point for Four Eyed Freaks. They absolutely popped off. This is where we saw the double sniper on the defense, but it's also where we saw a really clean attack as well, where it was almost a snowballing effect, something that NGUK just could never replicate at all. So look, as much as I would love to see Blizzard World, I would not be against it at all. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest to get that snowball effect back and to get onto that high mountain, rolling it an avalanche down. You'd take them to Midtown again. But of course, VARREL aren't to be counted out themselves. I mean, they're going to be spectacular no matter what map you put on them on, even when their back's against the wall, like in Ilios. They managed to just kick it into this next gear, and we saw that at the end of Ruins, where you really did feel how hard it was for Four Eyed Freaks to even approach the point.
Yeah, I think VARREL are really good at just making sure they have control of space. That is something that VARREL look very good at, and just in the way that like KSG positions on whatever tank they're playing, it doesn't really matter. You know, KSG is just always making you struggle to approach. So I think that's a good point. I'm also surprised you're probably the person who gets excited for of every map. You probably are the only person to get excited at even thinking Blizzard World might happen.
Really? Oh, come on! But Blizzard World's like, it's fun. I don't know. Like, of course, I'd take Kings Row. I think most people would really. I'm not trying to argue for Blizzard World over Kings Row, but Blizzard World it almost forces, in this meta specifically, I would argue, it forces teams to be a little bit more uncomfortable in their playstyle because, well, for one thing, they must not be scrimming on Blizzard World very often because the meta just doesn't do very well on it. So when a team takes it there, why it's so exciting, it's like they must have some really like wacky plan that's going to be a lot of fun to watch, but no, not going to happen. It will be Midtown again, as one of the teams at least is looking for their next train ride. I wonder where it will be, as VARREL, they're going to defend first as Four Eyed Freaks are going on the attack. And the thing though that Four Eyed Freaks has to keep in mind is that VARREL definitely would have watched their match. They know what Four Eyed Freaks want to do, how they play, that they do the double sniper. So they've had time to plan, time to, you know, do that team huddle. What are we going to do? How are we going to do it? And at the moment, they're going to answer it with the Torbjorn, but they've got Nico on the Soldier 76 as Mint has come in. But usually when we say, Mint, they must be playing Lucio. No, this time round, they are playing BAP. But I reckon why Mihawk's not playing here is that on the attack, VARREL want a speed boost.
Now, doors are open. Rui, early on with that Sigma, gonna try allow people to just go under that sort of wee alleyway. Speed gonna try find some early picks if possible. Sonic arrow to see where people are going, and it's actually the high ground they're gonna try and take for now.
Yeah, we've actually been seeing a couple of these APAC teams take the train instead of that hallway on the far right-hand side. And, I mean, at least it gives them the high ground, I suppose, for Four-Eyed Freaks. It's a lot of poke damage into one little area that VARREL can just pump into.
Rui taking control of this high ground. KSG actually taking quite a bit of damage. Cookie does take down Berlin, but Nico falls as well. And Four-Eyed Freaks, they might want to try take some space with Nico gone at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, VARREL, they just got to see if they can poke, see if they can get a pick, but it's a Four-Eyed Freaks to survive, and man, when you lose a Sigma, you kind of have to just back up at that point.
Yeah, full reset right here for Four-Eyed Freaks.
They don't have a Widow, though, to get a pick. They're really relying on the Soldier 76, Soldier 76, my brain, the Hanzo to get the picks instead, and XP7 instead opting to go onto the Ash. So, yes, you can't get the immediate shot, but you can build up Bob, you can get that Dynamite, a lot of chip damage.
Foxy's now has this amplification matrix. A lot of damage coming out if they commit to it, but it's a Flux coming out first, and their Immortality's not there to save. Speed, so many of Four-Eyed Freaks have fallen so low, and even with this amp matrix, there's just not enough players to be able to pump the damage through.
That's it for Four-Eyed Freaks for the first 2 minutes of Midtown, and they haven't come away with it with a massive ult economy either. VARREL still holding both support ults for this next fight. Of course, Captain Sun's on either side as well, but it really feels like, you know, Four-Eyed Freaks, they're a bit down. They don't have the Sigma either just yet. They're still 30% behind on their ultimate, whereas we've already seen a Gravitic Flux from VARREL's Captain Sun's out.
The Sun gonna land on everyone in that alleyway, and it's gonna be XP7 to full first. Speed follows along, a clean wipe for VARREL.
The Sun, the star just exploded. It went extinct, and so did Four-Eyed Freaks attack. I'd say it's their third last attack. This one might actually become their last, as these fights have been so slow. Four-Eyed Freaks haven't even had a whiff of the point, really. They've tried the train, that didn't work. They're trying main, that's a bit hard, and they tried the hallway, and that's, I can't even do a Goldilocks. That's not even just right. However, Cloud has been evaporated.
Now comes the Bob, making it a little bit harder for VARREL to approach, but also that Molten Core, you're not allowed to walk down this hallway right now. Rui's Flux is going to take KSG out, now trying to chase down Mint, but so much damage onto Rui. XP7 finally taking some names, just wanting to finish off these last few players and get point.
Do you reckon VARREL want to touch again? I just suspect they do, since Nico does have Bob to throw out here, and the fact that Cookie's still in the back line too, with Mint actually, so it wouldn't surprise me. Yep, they're coming back, but can they touch? No, that's a no.
Just naturally forced away from point. KSG now falling low. Four-Eyed Freaks really happy with that outcome through it all.
And because of that really late stagger onto KSG, that will force VARREL to go way further back than they ever would want to. Now, it just gives Four-Eyed Freaks the high ground for free here. And what's great on the high ground? A heck of a lot of damage. What helps a heck of a lot of damage will be that amp matrix that Proxy is holding, and it will make VARREL's approach even harder.
The amp matrix is scary, but KSG's going to just try and walk right through it. Bob as well, making it a little bit harder for Rui to exist up on this high ground. Look how low KSG is, still opting to leave that building, and it's actually kind of working out. They're getting a little bit of space. Flux comes out, picks up speed. Speed is down. Rui falling low. Immortality's going to save them at least. Captive Sun now, but Berlin is gone. And with that, VARREL should have this defense.
Yes, and a big thing, they've reclaimed the high ground off Four-Eyed Freaks. That amp matrix was so big, but KSG's like, no, I can, if I use all of my abilities, I can push through this and get a good Flux to shut it down. So for this next fight here, you have both support ults. 4i Freaks, really, they're only holding on to the Sig, Gravitic, Flux. And it's going to have to be massive, but with Mint, with that Immortality Shield, they're going to have to shut that one down.
Captive Sun, right into the room. XP7's gone, so is Berlin. Oh, Cloud, the 3K.
I didn't think so many stars could explode today, but consistently Cloud's old Captive Sun has been absolutely enormous, and so enormous, Apara. A minute remaining. This is the final fight, potentially, for 4-Eyed Freaks to be able to keep pushing his part to point C. Mint, the only real one with VARREL that has the ultimate. However, Molten Core's kind of close, but it's all down to this Flux, but they've lost proxies.
Speed is gone too. Nico taking down 2. Cookie is gone, but Rui is down, and 30 seconds left, Pap. There'll probably be 1 touch left.
Yeah, and even then it would be really rushed. XP7 so rushed, gone over the Widow. I guess to get a really cheeky pick, I mean, that's one way to open the fight. Speed 75, of course, still onto that Hanzo. So this double sniper, I mean, if this isn't the big risk, I don't know what is. With a Flux in the back, Cloud falls though.
That might actually make it that nobody can touch. No, Rui manages to push on through Molten Core now to zone you away from point if possible, and from Acacia Matrix as well. If you come to this payload, you are going to take a load of damage. Cookie zoning them out. The payload doesn't even move that far, Pat.
No, it's less than we saw last time, right? At least they could get it underneath the bridge section, but here, I mean, at least you cap the point, you have something to fight for, but it's going to be really, really tough. VARREL put in a very, very good defense here.
KSG is surprisingly on Sigma, but doing wonders on Sigma, you know. I am very impressed with KSG's performance at this point.
Yeah, you don't often see KSG taking up the Sigma. I mean, they have Plankton just like waiting in the back, twiddling their thumbs.
Plankton's like, wait, I could have played? What do you mean?
Like, what am I doing here? Oh, that might be why. They have a plan, and this is why you have Mint. This is why the speed boost. This is why KSG. They're just going to run a very off-meta... I know they're attacking, it can change at any point in time, but if they are going to run this is very... Okay, Life Weaver. No way. I don't think this is happening for 4-Eyed Freaks, though. Speed 75 back on that Hanzo, looking for that opening pick. XP7 has been doing quite well on the Ashe, but I'm surprised that they're not risking a little bit more with that Widowmaker, how it worked so well last time when they were versing NGUK, and oh yes, a little bit of it, what we call adaptability here is where are we teleporting to? I wonder, VARREL, where are we off to?
Everyone got found with the Sonic Arrows. All of 4-Eyed Freaks know what's happening, but that teleport right into your back room. Now you can start going onto point. Speed tries to take out Cookie, but Cookie's Bastion configuration assault is just way too scary to approach at the moment. Rui, however, does take down KSG. Your dreams of this cheeky wee little rush run over the point is so far not working out for VARREL.
No, I mean, VARREL have time, I suppose, if they really want to be cheeky, but there you go. They're going in, taking everybody out, and no, VARREL, they're going to commit to this. I think they're just going to build up to the ultimate, for ultimates, right? They're playing for those ults, because really, if you can get a large shatter onto 4-Eyed Freaks, it's pretty much game over here. But again, it's a high risk, because building ultimate as Reinhardt is just naturally very, very hard, because you have to get them so close. As they, and this time, you're going to take hallway.
Yeah, you know, you got to keep them guessing. Never let the enemies know how you're going to approach this. And now, looks like they're going to go on high ground, but someone got caught out. It looks like Nico didn't quite catch the train here. Cookie, trying to set up. Nico getting chased completely down, but finds XP7's dynamite to the face. Cookie follows up, though. XP7 is gone now. Will KSG be able to take out these last few players, especially with the help of Cookie here? It looks like Points is now in control of VARREL, and Will Four-Eyed Freaks try for the recontest?
I doubt it. I mean, they're taking it and take so much damage getting there. However, they've popped Amp Matrix.
They couldn't touch!
Oh,
Rui's down! KSG takes down Berlin! Oh no, that is devastating news for Four-Eyed Freaks. Someone was meant to touch, but nobody did, and now VARREL are on a complete tear. They only need to get it just under halfway of that bridge.
I mean, look where that moldy waffle is. It's just underneath. It's not that hard, and these constant, consistent picks is just so brutal. Again, Proxies gets out with their life, but only just. You have a shatter from KSG. This is why we have KSG. And, of course, Cookie with the artillery strike as well as Mint, whereas Four-Eyed Freaks, they have both DPS ults, so they're going to have to be super impactful with this Flux.
Artillery strike takes out XP7. That's not good news for Four-Eyed Freaks at all. Captive Sun, however, comes out. It's putting a little bit of damage onto VARREL. Is it enough? The shatter from KSG right onto Berlin and Rui. Cookie cleaning house, and that payload is cruising on through. VARREL dominantly take Midtown.
Dominantly get their train ride, I guess. Like their costs are all covered for them thanks to Four-Eyed Freaks. Oh, that was Four-Eyed Freaks' map. They chose that. Fair enough too. I mean, they'd played so well against NG UK, but we did not see that whole snowballing effect that I was talking about earlier. Well, for Four-Eyed Freaks, we saw it a lot for VARREL, but we didn't see that. And the reason was, especially on the defenses, we were kind of guessing, do they really want to touch this again? Well, they put Amp Matrix into it, they must want to, but couldn't touch. And when you expend that big ultimate, of course, you're not just expending your ult economy, but you're also expending the lives and the positions of your next fight, because then they couldn't take high ground as easily. You had KSG just freely swinging away. They didn't have to worry about being accretions or anything like that, and absolutely no way to shut them down. VARREL looking very, very strong leading into map 3.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a miracle at this point for Four-Eyed Freaks to bring us to push, but miracles can happen. We saw Daff with a great reverse sweep, so Four-Eyed Freaks, they might need to be bringing on a little bit of Daff energy here. You know, if any point it's going to happen, I think it's Flashpoint. It definitely seems like Flashpoint is that kind of match, and we'll be seeing Flashpoint right after this break. VARREL aligning themselves up for the 3-0. Are they able to confirm it on our final map, which could be potential final map?
Well, okay, Mr. How could you say invincible and then go?
Shouldn't be that early of a prediction, but Flashpoint map. This could be our last map of the night. Maybe,
possibly, potentially. All those buzzwords, let's throw them out. But I mean, look, at the end of the day, all of our sort of, I suppose, chips would be on VARREL. Really, I mean, the Midtown was brutal, and that was Four-Eyed Freaks' map choice as well. But having said that, like, they did so well on Blizzard World, Four-Eyed Freaks, against a pick that wasn't necessarily in their favor, and they were able to turn that right around. So, I don't know, this Flashpoint, I feel like, I mean, it'd be nice to see New Junk City. Will we see a Savasa again, though? Where will the train take us? Nobody knows. But both of these teams... we're seeing some NJC. We have seen some New Junk City tonight. But both of these teams, I wouldn't say necessarily just struggle outright with control, but it really did feel more back and forth when it was that more control-esque, now Flashpoint map.
Yeah, I think we could be seeing a very sort of 3-2 Flashpoint again, as we've sort of seen every single match so far, but VARREL are just looking that level above, you know. Four-Eyed Freaks are playing to that level, but just not quite stepping into the role of victors.
It's interesting to me that they've decided to go New Junk City when they did so well in Savasa last time, right? And now it's kind of, I'm not going to say it's outside their comfort zone. Of course, they'd scrim on both Flashpoint maps, but here you're asking to go on a map that is pretty much new today, wipe off all the dust, and VARREL going on to another crazy comp, perhaps, with KSG on the Winston. We'll have to wait and see. On the other side, though, a little bit more of what we kind of used to for Four-Eyed Freaks with that Junker Queen. Very, very brawly. So KSG, if they really are going Winston, I don't want to like jinx it or anything, cast a curse, but it's going to be very difficult against diving into Junker Queen, but also diving into a Bastion.
Yeah, this Winston, really interesting choice. We'll see if KSG can make it work. But as you said, Junker Queen, but also Bastion. Two things that can just burn down a Winston as both teams approach the arena.
And Speed 75 is still on the sim. That's also something to talk about. You don't have a Sojourn, which we're kind of used to in New Junk City here, to pump out that damage, get those headshots. You're really relying on those right clicks, maybe the crazy teleporters. But here, KSG, they have to play so carefully and hope that Cookie can get something started in the back.
A little bit of ring around the rosy happening. KSG now jumping onto Berlin. Berlin managing to survive, and there's a Bastion right in your face. Proxy finishing KSG off. Now everyone from VARREL's just getting completely run over. Nico brought on through with Gracie and will fall eventually as first point of arenas going to Four-Eyed Freaks.
I'm wondering if KSG or VARREL were thinking, okay, I reckon they'll run Zar, they'll probably run the Sojourn, maybe a Hanzo or something like that. That's something that we can dive. That's something, I mean, yes, they've got bubbles, but I can work around that. Whereas when you dive in, it's like, oh, hello, Bastion, how do you do today? And just get completely blown up. Fair enough, switch over to the Orisa. You can survive a heck of a lot more damage. But still, though, you cannot be as aggressive as Four-Eyed Freaks. Yes, you have Mint on the Lucio, but pumping out the damage with this Bastion is Nico.
Nico looking for a victim, not quite finding anyone. Rui managing to get a little bit more help with that commanding strike. Now falling back to their supports, and Speed is taking down Cloud early. Without Cloud in this fight, VARREL are going to struggle to stay alive. A lot of healing's gone. Pulse Bomb, however, not quite managing to find any targets, but XP7 fell during it. Mint taking down Berlin. It's a bit of an even fight, to be fair, but with Mint now going down, that is all for Four-Eyed Freaks.
And surely you don't try and recontest as VARREL. You lost the Cookie very late into that fight. You want as many of your men as possible back, but VARREL, yeah, they're just looking and hoping that their one is closer than the other. Just like, okay, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Whoop, over there. That actually is terrible for VARREL. Really good for Four-Eyed Freaks, as they're able to immediately teleport as well as speed boost over to the objective. So they're going to have really good defensive setup by the time VARREL gets there. Cookie actually gone over to the Genji, I should mention, as well. So, I mean, look, it's not Tracer in the back line, but it's near to it, as the dash reset could be brutal.
This Rampage looking to line up right into this wee hallway. Not quite catching on to anyone, but configuration artillery strike. Rui is just causing pain to it. The artillery strike, though, from Nico, taking out Speed. Rui now caught alone with an Orisa, and that's going to be Rui falling. Now with the amplification matrix from VARREL. VARREL should take this first point. A couple of percentages to Four-Eyed Freak, but ultimately VARREL will take this map.
Objective.
Point. Objective. Thank you.
Objective
Yeah.
point. No, they've taken the map. You know what? You're right. They capped it once. It's done.
All of it. Done. We're done.
All of it
Goodbye.
done. Yep. You can go to bed now. No drops for you, chat, according to Apara. Anyway, Four-Eyed Freaks, they'll be coming back into this. They do not have any ultimate. However, KSG's the one with the ult, with the Terror Surge in their pocket. And nothing else, though.
Terror Surge trying to force anyone going into the refinery to go back to spawn, and it's going to be Rui falling. No Junker Queen now for Four-Eyed Freaks. That's going to be so hard to approach, and yeah, everyone falls back. 60% Pap. Do you think they can get one more touch?
It is hard to know. I don't think you should. You could, maybe, if you just get proxies booking it at 100 miles an hour. But I think it's best to do what VARREL did last and just kind of wait and see. Something to point out is now there's a Zarya four-eyed freak. It's the classic Zar versus the Orisa as it ticks over to 100%. Where is the next point?
Oh, Cookie taking down Rui. That could really be devastating news for Four-Eyed Freaks as we're moving now into the next point. Yeah, VARREL could just take control of it as they head to bomb flats.
You can see proxies immediately speed boosting back to spawn, getting everybody together as quickly as possible. But VARREL already as a coherent group and with a lot of ultimates to kill as well. But that doesn't mean anything apparently today, as maybe VARREL won't do it as Four-Eyed Freaks are looking to survive this artillery strike.
Oh, and it's the supports getting pressured out. Blade now from Cookie. He knows that the immortality's down, and Four-Eyed Freaks just completely collapse. Speed manages to take down the Genji counterpart, but that's it.
That's all she wrote. Four-Eyed Freaks now left scratching their heads. They need to take this objective. They cannot let VARREL get a single objective above them. And I mean, you're close to Blade. You have the overclock as well from XP7. XP7 is an incredible Sojin and hit scan player. So honestly, off the back of the Damp Matrix could be it.
Roxy's finding Cloud early is great news for Four-Eyed Freaks. The Terror Surge from KSG is ready though. It comes out, pulls into Blade and Genji, so KSG falls so low. Cookie does manage to take up Berlin, but gets chased down by Proxies, and this point is now going to tick over to Four-Eyed Freaks.
Oh, last second touch was not successful, but Nico takes out priorities. Maybe there's something in this for VARREL to get back. You've got Mint as well, of course, taxiing the rest of VARREL as quickly as possible. But with a grab online, you do have to be really careful about how you're approaching it. And XP7 going over to the Hanzo instead of the Sojin. This is not seen very often on Flashpoint.
Four-Eyed Freaks do not want to allow VARREL to get this cap onto point, because if the cap flips, then VARREL's putting themselves into last fight territory here. Rui trying to take out Mint, but it's KSG taking down Berlin first. The grab onto Cloud to try and even it up. Takes out Immortality. Cloud now taken down. No Baptiste for either side. Nico starting to fall over with Cookie taking out Rui. It is really hard for Four-Eyed Freaks to do anything. 70% on the point here now, Pat.
I think it's possible though this time around for Four-Eyed Freaks to take another fight because KSG died. And when you don't have a tank, it can be a lot harder, of course, to get the objective down pat. But yeah, no, they will take it. It seems, I was about to say, it looks like they're looking away for half a second, but no, they're going in.
Overtime on the bomb flats here. Nico's got this artillery strike. Gonna try force anyone off that's gonna touch. Might catch out that Hanzo, and yes, XP7 had taken down. There goes Berlin as well. Nico finding two. Four-Eyed Freaks really panicking now, as this is going to be VARREL's second point cap and putting VARREL into match point.
How close is this next objective as well? We'll see if it is any easier for Four-Eyed Freaks to get there. A little bit, but you are running Sigma now instead of Zarya, so a little bit slower comp, and a Zen Lucio. I'm sorry, what, Four-Eyed Freaks? What are you running right now? A Discord orb, I suppose, but you don't have really the damage.
This is going to be a chaotic point at this point, because Berlin's taken down Cookie, and it looks like Four-Eyed Freaks, they're going to start making their way to the Ducks. They want to be able to get that point presence early.
I did say damage, but I definitely meant healing. When you have a Zen Lucio healing, it is very tricky to keep everybody alive here, as the Doomfist from KSG is alive as well, and is seeing if they can get anyone in the backline.
KSG just trying to force anyone off from point, trying to get that cap back, but it's ticking up to Four-Eyed Freaks, and with Cookie taken down, XPG can start just shooting their arrows. One Storm Arrow into Cloud, and VARREL should reset now.
Look, if 5 ults don't win you the fight, then why can't Zen Lucio win you some? You know what I'm saying? I mean, you're building up now to some really good defensive ultimates. You've nearly got Trance, of course you have Bit as well. And I mean, poor Cookie. I don't know how they're going to end up getting any picks with that, with their Dragon Blade here. And KSG, though, if they can get a sneaky little peek into the back, it will be pretty difficult for Four-Eyed Freak to answer.
ASG now trying to get up onto this high ground, but the accretion shutting it down. Sound barrier now onto Four-Eyed Freaks, keeping everyone up and running for now. Meteor Strike, will it land onto a critical target? Speed's Blade taking out Mint is a little bit bigger. Nico and Cloud both even it up, but Speed's still in this fight, 99%. And Nico hacks out Rui, but it's only KSG to help with the damage, and it is just not quite there. KSG goes down. We are at match point 2-2, with our final point going to be the junkyard as VARREL try to stall it out a little bit.
VARREL, they're doing their best against a Zen Lucio. I know I keep pointing it out, but it is just naturally very low amount of healing. But because the fights are so quick, and also the fact that a lot of the healing really only has to go into one person, and Sigma, they can survive quite a lot, whereas yeah, of course XP7 just does the hacks and gets out of there. There's the trance though, forced out.
Lux not leading to too much. Mint taken down, however, so a little bit of value out of it. Berlin falls, Rui finds Cloud and trying to take this fight with KSG. KSG just wants to take Mint down. Oh, Proxy, sorry, manages to, but ultimately Four-Eyed Freaks come out on top.
Yeah, it's almost like VARREL are kind of like, what do we do? Oh, I love this. The Brig now? No tap. Okay, I was about to say, I love Brig, Lucio. It really brings me back to those dive days where it was like very short heals, but explosive damage with that Discord Orb. And at this point in time, the Discord Orb is doing really well against Cookie and against Nico. It's hard for them to get in, which is funny because usually you think of a Zen as really easy.
Supports get the EMP to the face, but manage to survive temporarily, and Berlin and Rui take names. KSG now primal raging, the angry monkey hoping to turn this fight into VARREL's favor, and actually managing to take out both supports, now wanting to push Rui off the map, just dancing around Rui. Rui falls. This point will flip over to VARREL. Can they hold it all the way?
Man, that was so close. Look how low KSG is as well from taking out that Sigma. And as you said, really, VARREL have to hold this point the entire time to win not just the match, but also the entire series and have their chance at getting back into grand finals. And that's a lot of pressure for VARREL, but hey, unless they lose Nico, hang on a sec, can't do that.
Nico down early, Speed's Blade manages to find Cloud at the last second. Four-Eyed Freaks looking pretty to turn the point into their favor. Junkyard is going to go back to Four-Eyed Freaks, and I don't know if VARREL's going to have anything to touch at this rate.
Yeah, I guess you have Mint, right? And maybe 10 seconds to touch. It's really not that much time. XP7 as well with the EMP, of course, is going to make it even harder for VARREL to fight their way in. But at the last second, SG's on.
Will they be able to take out Four-Eyed Freaks, get the point back, or can this EMP completely shut down the push of VARREL? It's gonna shut down KSG, that's for sure. Speed does get taken down. Nico finding two, trying to be the hope of VARREL here, finds a third. They need to get the last few stragglers. Proxy falling low. Cookie now takes out Immortality. It's Rui, and all that's left, and that point flips back to VARREL.
You ever have just like this clutchest of sim plays? Because that was definitely one of them, taking out both the supports in the back. But speaking of supports for Four-Eyed Freaks, Berlin has the Transcendence. This is final fight. I cannot stress this enough. Four-Eyed Freaks need to win this to stay in this match.
Speed gets a touch. Pulse Bomb not finding any victims because of that Transcendence, but Speed doesn't get saved from Transcendence. Start manages to take them down just in time. Sound Barrier allows KSG to get aggressive onto Berlin. XP7's gone. Rui and Proxy's all that's left of the Photon Barrier is going to protect everyone. VARREL take our series 3-0 against Four-Eyed Freaks.
Four-Eyed Freaks, they played very, very well fighting their way through the lower bracket, but VARREL, a team that has been in APAC for so long, able to dig down deep into their experience, their hero pool, and eke out a relatively convincing victory. However, Flashpoint was definitely closer.
Oh yeah, I mean Flashpoint and Control definitely was quite close for Four Eyed Freaks, and it felt messy at times. There are a lot of interesting swaps that might be questionable, and I would love to talk to VARREL to find out their decision making. But hey, in the end, it worked out for them, and they got the win. Maybe, just maybe, they get paid hourly and just wanted to push it out a little bit more, and that's why they did some interesting picks. But ultimately, VARREL take that win.
You know what it was like? It was like, all right, come on, 4i3, sit next to Pap and Apara. Now, why? Why did we run the Lucio Zen for so long? I mean, yes, it worked to an extent to take one Flashpoint map, but point. I said map. There you go. I'm getting it too. Getting the disease. Just take one objective, but after that, with the lower heals, you just couldn't survive as the Sigma, and it was really, really tough going forward for Four-Eyed Freaks. And VARREL now, of course, they haven't just made the grand final like that. They still have to beat Heaven Sent, and Heaven Sent, they want revenge for being taken out by DAF, especially given how close it was. As the player of the match, Apara's Cloud. A support.
Cloud, our first support player of the match in both APAC and Korea here, and Cloud definitely deserves it. Cloud's, especially Cloud's Captive Sons, were just phenomenal, but Cloud got some critical picks on Kiriko as well, certainly showing us that supports can be DPS at the same time. Supports aren't just healers, they support, and Cloud does all of it.
Cloud did it all, and I think the biggest ones were definitely those Captive Sons that we saw, as well as just the fact that they were able to give out such impactful ultimates time and time again. Like the Captive Sons, what we were just talking about, but also with Kiriko too, with the Kasune Rush, keeping everybody not just alive, but consistent damage as well. So I love the love that is given to Cloud today. We do get that support player of the matches. These were your matches today. VARREL 3-1 against Invincible. And then 4i Freaks did a really, really good job turning it around from NGUK, but unfortunately just weren't up to the task of beating VARREL, as they are your victors for today. And moving on to Losers Bracket Finals.
Yeah, VARREL now have a chance to try get into the grand finals, and I know VARREL have a grudge against DAF, because DAF was cracking esports last season. Literally, like, pretty much every player the same, and management the same as well. Just gonna point that one out. So DAF is just cracking this year, and yeah, no, Heaven Sent and VARREL will be a match that will be happening on October 4th. VARREL trying to go up against DAF, but as you also said, Heaven Sent also have a grudge against DAF, because DAF sent them down to the lower bracket.
Not as long though. Like, you know, I feel like VARREL have just been brooding for like 2-3 months. We'll get them back. We'll get them back. So that would be a grudge match of the century if we get to see that. But of course, our first match that Apara and I will be taking you through is on the 4th of October on a Wednesday. It'll be Heaven Sent first off versus VARREL, and then we will see the grand finals of APAC DAF, waiting to see who wants to take revenge on them.
Yeah, DAF has made some enemies, I feel like.
Yeah,
like
really
DAF is
so.
VARREL, DAF is Heaven Sent. Like, DAF are certainly the Titans to be taking down at the moment, but there is going to be such an intense match of VARREL versus Heaven Sent first that I'm super excited for. And, you know, it's just more really exciting Overwatch, and we've had some great games so far, Pap.
We have had really good games. We've also had a bit of a shake-up. I mean, I don't know about you, but I love seeing KSG on the Reinhardt in Midtown. It's like, whenever Reinhardt is meta, it just makes my heart sing just a little bit more. And that's why I loved King's Row, when like you had to run Reinhardt in King's Row. It's like, oh, that's just Ryan's map. But obviously, we didn't get to see King's Row today, but we did get to see some Blizzard World. That was also exciting to see what teams, you know, decided to play on Blizzard World, especially since, you know, we've never seen it before. We've also seen a bit of Moira. We saw some Zen used as well. So going into this not semi-finals, this grand finals of the lower bracket, we don't know what they might pull out here as well, which makes it so good.
Yeah, no, it's going to be very exciting. I also just want to mention our fallen teams. You know, we've had some great teams come through this season of APAC, the full series. So I do just want to appreciate Six Blow, Four Eyed Freaks, NGUK, Invincible, and Fade. All phenomenal teams. Some we unfortunately didn't get to cast, but every single team has brought such an amazing show for us to cast, especially today. And now it's just
Yeah.
left in the hands of three: VARREL, Daff, and Heaven Sent. Three behemoths of teams. And I am like genuinely, this is probably one of the most exciting finals that we have
Yeah,
had in APAC.
it's so good, right? There's so
Yeah.
many grudge matches, both relatively new and then also old as well, with that Varel Death, like we recently discussed, and especially that like it's more on Heaven Sent to prove themselves. Like Varel and Daff, they've kind of proved themselves. Like yes, Varel like they just kind of have a track record of just dropping ball at the last second here. But like Heaven Sent, they're new to the scene. They've managed to fight their way up, and then they did crash back down. But can they pick themselves up again and verse Varel, who seem to be a team like we just saw that? Okay, they're two players down, but they still pop their ultimates. They're still able to turn fights, and that's exactly how DAF won yesterday as well. That they did adapt and they did flatten. So, oh man, can Heaven Sent be up to the task? Because the Varel that we saw towards the end, especially in Midtown, they were very, very, very strong.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. VARREL, when they're on top of their game, are on top of their game. But we do have to remember, Heaven Sent, they're basically in a Contenders team. They have a
Yeah.
lot of experience. They've gone against Overwatch League players, like during the pro-am. So players like Pummy, like Iron Man Claire, like they're all going to be scary players for VARREL to go against, and we'll see whether VARREL can keep up to par with them.
Also, while we have the time, just a little bit
Yeah.
of small talk. While we have the time,
Okay.
I just how awesome that we have just happened to have exactly the same plaid autumn fall attire on tonight. It we both just happened to it just worked.
Yeah, it was such a coincidence that happened, Pat.
Oh, I
Man,
know, like both
it's
of us
almost
just
like,
sat in front of the camera, like doing the Spider-Man meme.
what
Like,
the?
who are you?
Yeah, that was not planned at all. There was no planning of
Look,
that one.
I
What?
sat in front of here with this on, and then you just happen to have the same awesome full
Okay,
attire. All right, it just works.
that is fair. That lucked out that we both owned the same clothes.
Oh goodness, no. I mean, it's so hot over here. Like, it's definitely not fall where I am. It's actually spring here, so I've had to have the fan on like full blast. I've probably gotten like shinier and shinier as the night has
Yeah.
come on. I'm gonna flip out of my chair.
So with that, that is going to be us tonight for Overwatch Contenders APAC. But on the 25th, we have some more Korea for you. So we're going to have one day off. Then Paulsville and LaFond will be back with Overwatch Contenders Korea. And you'll have 4 more days of Contenders next week. So we got more jam-packed excitement for you. So thank you so much for coming. And we'll see you in the next stream.
Stay hydrated.